Buckle up and thanks for hopping on to another episode of the E-Ticket Talk. This is your all-access audio passport to the world of Disney parks, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney. Whether you're a Magic Key holder, a Castaway Club cruiser, or just mapping out your dream itinerary, you're in the right place. E-Ticket Talk is brought to you by Effortless Expeditions, a Disney Center travel agency, here to help you plan your next Disney vacation. Contact us today for a free, no-obligation quote. Wherever the destination is, they make it truly effortless. I'm your host, Ethan Bronson, and today I am joined by a slightly different crew. We have Andreas joining us for our first episode. Even though this technically isn't, this is the first episode that you guys have seen because the trivia episode is going into the dungeon. But make sure that if you want to see the dungeon episodes, subscribe and comment down below that you want us to see us do a Patreon. But Andreas, welcome.
Thanks, Bron. I'm a little upset to hear that the trivia episode is in the dumps. I gotta say, it's probably a little bit justified because that was, I mean, for myself, I got first place in the trivia, so that's why I'm a little upset. But,
well, I guess you'll have to find out for the listener if you want to be a part of Patreon to see if Andreas truly won. We're also joined in person by my brother Austin.
What's going on, everyone? And I want to make a point. Andreas did not get first place. I won't say what place you got, but it's for sure not first.
He's lying.
And lastly, Brody.
Hello, everyone. And just to back Andreas up on this, he got first place. I was there. I was a witness to it. I was at a close second, off by like a point, maybe even half a point, if I recall correctly. But Andreas did absolutely sweep the floor.
The philosopher is an honorable man. His word is gold.
All right, guys. What is our icebreaker today? Even Austin can't see because I haven't changed it on the script. What is our icebreaker? That's right. You need to choose a Disney tattoo.
Oh, my.
Wow.
But you have to choose one on the list. You can't pick one outside.
Hey, what's that fourth
What is that bottom one?
For the listener, we're going to explain real quick the 4 tattoo choices I've given you guys. We have Dis on a knee, so you get it, Disney.
Yeah.
You have Andy written on the foot, which even just thinking about it sounds incredibly painful. You have a little belly tattoo that says when you wish upon a star, dreams do come true. And then you have the Disney Castle as a tramp stamp.
So we can't come up with our own tattoos.
No, it has to be one of these 4.
So just theoretically, I can have a tramp stamp that says, "Thank you for flying Star Tours, bye-bye."
That would be good, but
Okay.
that's not today's icebreaker.
Okay. All right, just want to double check.
And I'm also making a requirement that you have to explain why you're choosing said tattoo.
Okay.
Can I go first?
Go for it.
It might be the easy way out, but I'm taking the Andy on the bottom of the foot.
You don't think that would be incredibly painful?
I think it'll be painful, but it'll be worth it compared to these other ones are just terrible. I don't want a tattoo across my waistline. I don't want a fat Diz on my knee, and I don't want a tramp stamp. So I gotta go Andy. Plus, it's cool. It's a little Toy Story reference. I like that.
I would have to agree. I would also do the Andy. Just to justify how many toys I drew Andy on the bottom of the foot of. I just feel like it's payback. I did for a few. I have a Woody figure up there.
Oh yeah.
And he's got Brody on one foot and Andy on the other. So
I do have to say I really like the Disney pun though. I like that.
I didn't even put that together. So thank you for helping those of us in the audience that are a little slower to get to the point.
It's got to be the Andy foot, 100%. It's subtle. You're walking around and not everyone's like, "What the Disney?" All right, Disney, sick. You're not gonna see it unless you rocking the dogs out, and hopefully you're not, because this guy's feet looks a little rough.
Yeah, it's a little discolored.
I don't like it.
All right.
What about you, Bron?
Mine, I'm going with the belly tattoo. It really opened up my crop top closet.
Wow.
I feel like that'd be such a power move to rock that in the Disney parks.
You have to wear the belly piercing too?
Yes.
Oh God.
All right. Thank you for participating in this week's icebreaker. Now, I normally don't like to do Disney news on this podcast because we can't compete with everybody, but this is pretty big Disney news. And when I asked my brother about this, he had never heard of it, which I feel like is kind of impossible if you haven't heard of it. But Austin, take us away.
All right. Disneyland Abu Dhabi. So, again, I was not aware this was happening. Now we have Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Paris, Disney Shanghai, and Disney Hong Kong. Tokyo.
And Hong Kong.
And Hong Kong. So we have a lot. So now we have Disneyland Abu Dhabi. So the United Arab Emirates, if I'm saying that right, has been on kind of like a theme park bender. They're getting everything they got. They have Warner Bros. They have Ferrari World. What the heck? I guess there's a lot of rich people there. So,
Oh, yeah.
And they have an indoor ski slope in the middle of a sand dune. So that's pretty cool. So Disney's goal is to get a global footprint and make money fast. That's all they want, even though they're spending $10 billion on this, over $10 billion. So this was announced about 3 weeks ago, if that's correct. So when you guys are seeing this, it's going to be about a month ago, so a little late. And it's going to be planned to open around 2030 to 2033. So we got some time. I might be 30 years old when this comes out. That'll be a little crazy. 20 years. Wait, yeah. Anyways, so how big is this going to be? It's going to be 10 million square feet. That means nothing to me. It's 173 football fields. And that means something to me. And so, compared to Disney World, which is about 27,000 acres, that doesn't mean anything to me either. What is 23,000 acres of square feet? Do you know? I didn't write that down.
Well, one acreage number I do have off the top of my head. Disney's biggest expansion domestically was Galaxy's Edge, which was 14 acres. So I do have that.
I know an acre is 5,200 and something yards.
Well, it doesn't look like that we have that information. But Austin, you keep talking.
Anyways, whatever
wait.
version I'm using is not right. For some reason, it's giving me some random number. But that's besides the point. Let's get to what's going to be in this park.
It's 177 football fields, Austin.
What was that?
23,000 acres is 177 football fields.
So slightly smaller than Disney World. But, I mean, a lot of Disney World, you can't. It's uninhabitable. I mean, you're going to go somewhere and get eaten by a gator. So there's no gators in the desert. All you got is camels. So, anyways, there's going to be a Disney Princess and Princesses Pavilion. So
None of this is confirmed.
It's confirmed by me. There's going to be a Marvel Universe Land. So if you guys are interested in Marvel, we have an entire podcast on that. You should go check that one out. And there's going to be Wakanda apparently here. So that's going to be cool. Then there's going to be Star Wars Galaxy's Edge 2.0. It's rumored to have Jabba's Palace. Now, that would be really cool. Brody, what do you think about that?
How? How would it have Jabba's... Is it still Galaxy's Edge?
It's 2.0. So it's not Galaxy's Edge. It's 2.0. It's not Batu.
So it's... I'm interested, because that would probably mean it's just like the old Star Tours stuff, where it's just a mix of everything.
Well, you have to think. Abu Dhabi equals desert. Jabba's Palace, desert, right?
Oh. But then, like, who would want to go there? Just see more desert.
Apparently a lot of people. That's why they're spending $10 billion on it. And then we have Pixar Playground. So, really all I know about this is it's going to be shaded, hopefully. I hope there's shade. There's going to be kids running around, probably dehydrated in the desert. If you've been to Arizona, I mean, if it's anything like that, man, I'm going to want to die in about 2 minutes. Or Florida, man. Then there's going to be, I don't understand why they keep doing this. All these next two IPs are so old at this point, they just keep going at it. We're going to have a Frozen Pavilion, ice and in a desert. I don't know how that's going to work out. I think that's probably what that weird blue-looking thing is.
I'll explain what that is in a moment.
Okay, and then there's going to be, this could fit, a Zootopia Safari District. So kind of like Animal Kingdom, potentially. Like, what's the Rafiki's Planet Watch? Something like that, I'm guessing. And some other cool fun facts is this could potentially be the first fully indoor Disney theme park.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of money. And that's really about it. And there might be a gold-plated churro, because apparently a lot of people have money in Abu Dhabi. But, yeah, are you guys looking forward to this in 2033?
Hell yeah. That sounds insane. And yeah, Austin, Abu Dhabi is loaded with money. Isn't that new city gonna be there? The one that's like
The line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been rumored for going on for a long time, but I haven't heard anything from it for a while. Because that thing is supposed to cost like $1 trillion or something.
Yeah.
Brody, why don't you give your thoughts, and then I'll be the fact checker for Austin's news segment.
I don't know. It's one of those where I feel like if they go through with all this, there might be some like hit rides that eventually make their way over here, because that happens with a lot of the rides that we're getting nowadays. Is they're just like from other places that get brought here. But the other thing is, like, when you said indoor, I think that would be interesting, at least for like a section of it, because I didn't really know about like fully indoor theme parks until recently, like fully indoor theme parks. And I just saw one that was, I think, in Abu Dhabi or somewhere around there, and it was like all DC themed. And I was like really impressed, because I thought indoor was going to be like lame, to be honest. I thought it was going to be warehouse looking, but they're able to like make it look like a certain time of day constantly. You know what I mean? And really get into theming with that. So I don't know. It was interesting. So I'd be interested to see what Disney does with that.
Yeah, I think Ferrari World is completely indoor, if I'm not mistaken. But for the listener who can't see the concept art, on the concept art, and something that Bob Iger has stated, is that this is going to be one of the first Disney parks to be technology centered. So that middle spire that kind of looks like Elsa's palace is actually going to be the castle for the park. It's not going to be a traditional Disney castle. This is the only piece of concept art they've released. They have not released any of those land ideas. I think a lot of the speculation is coming from some of the newer lands that have been coming out, with the Frozen Land being introduced in Tokyo or Shanghai. They're currently building one in Paris. I do know that. Zootopia Land just opened up in Shanghai. But I think this is going to be not your traditional Disney theme park. So why is Disney doing this? It's because Disney's not paying for it. This is also very similar to how Tokyo Disneyland operates. Disneyland Tokyo is completely paid for by the Oriental Land Company. Disney lends out their Imagineers to build out all these ideas, but Disney doesn't have to foot the bill. So that's why, in a time where Disney is not, doing the best financially, they're not paying for this. So I can't remember the name of who is paying for this, but it's the same company that paid and owns Ferrari World and all the other parks on this island. So you may see that there's some water around the park. So even though this is in a desert, this is on Yas Island. So very similar to how Magic Kingdom at Florida is kind of the first thing is the lagoon. Very similar to Tokyo Disney Sea, where a big point of emphasis is the water. This will be kind of the same idea, but don't expect this to be like anything we've seen before. And I would also expect, which is very different than most foreign parks, this is probably going to be the most expensive. And I would say this is probably going to be more expensive to get a ticket than your domestic parks. Because at this time, Disney World and Disneyland are the most expensive Disney parks to go visit. But I would expect this to probably be in the range of a single day ticket starting at $300, which is just absurd. But I think that's what's going to happen. With Yas Island, you have to buy a ticket to all the parks to go into any of them. And that's starting at like $380 a day. So you best believe when Disney gets added to that, you're going to be paying at least $500 for one ticket to get access to all of it in one day. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
The company that's funding this isn't a company. This is the Abu Dhabi government that is subsidizing this project. And would anyone like to take a guess of how much a ticket from LAX to Abu Dhabi would be? A plane ticket.
One way or round trip?
Round trip.
1,600. 1,800.
Okay, that's pretty close. Anywhere from like 1,200 to 1,700, depending if you want layovers or connections or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one expensive vacation.
Yeah. For sure. Now, you know they have money. They're going to have a Ferrari land. Like, they all have foreign crazy cars out there.
And there are a lot of humanitarian issues with this park in terms of how the United Arab Emirates runs their construction. There's plenty of Disney websites going over all of the humanitarian issues with that and with families specifically. So I'll let you guys discover on that. We're not going to talk about that because it's just kind of too depressing.
How can you bring that up? I have so many questions now.
Well, you'll have to discover it on other channels. That's not what we're talking about today. So nobody really knows what I'm talking about today. What is our topic of conversation today? You guys need to be prepared. I'm going to be telling a lot of stories today, so please bear with me. So we are going to be talking about Disney hotels that never came to fruition.
Ooh.
So this was sparked by a YouTube video that I found last week going over a hotel that never happened connected to a water park. This was the first time I've ever heard about this. I feel like I'm pretty in the know about projects that have never come to fruition, and this was the first time I've heard about it. We'll put the link in the description because I think it's a very well-informed video. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. But first up, we have Disney's Alpine Resort. So what is Disney's Alpine Resort? Imagine stepping off a shuttle at Walt Disney World, the Florida sun beating down, only to find yourself at the base of a snow-dusted mountain, where the Alpine Resort welcomes you with the impossible charm of a ski lodge in the tropics. As you cross the threshold, a blast of cool air hits you, carrying the scent of pine and hot cocoa. The lobby is a soaring chalet, its vaulted ceiling crisscrossed with massive wooden beams, each carved with subtle Mickey heads. A colossal stone fireplace crackles at the center, its flame casting a warm glow on overstuffed leather armchairs and plaid rugs. Above, a chandelier of fake icicles glints like frozen starlight, while a mural of snowy peaks wraps the walls, tying into Blizzard Beach's backstory. A freak Florida snowstorm that melted into a water park. You check in at a desk shaped like a vintage ski lift, where a cast member in a parka hands you a key card embossed with a snowflake. Your room is a cozy ski cabin with knotting pine walls and a quilted bedspread in red and green plaid, stitched with the silhouettes of skiers. The headboard is carved like a snow-covered log, and the lamps mimic flickering lanterns. Through your window, you see Blizzard Beach's summit plummet, its 120-foot slide gleaming against the melting slopes. The bathroom features tiles patterned with snowflakes, and the minibar offers snowmelt smoothies and frostbite fudge. I may have made that part up. You wander to the dining hall, the Slalom Chalet, where servers in knit sweaters deliver plates of avalanche nachos, piled with chili and cheese, or glacier pot pie, served with hearty vegetables. The bar, styled like a ski lounge, serves Mickey hot cocoa with whipped cream-shaped mouse ears, while a pianist plays wintry Disney tunes. Andreas, I know you like that part. Outside the pool is a heated alpine lake surrounded by fake snowbanks and a water slide shaped like a ski jump, where kids splash under a fake icicle arch. At night, you join a campfire sing-along where Goofy strums a guitar under twinkling lights strung like snowflakes. This Alpine Resort was envisioned in the early 1990s as Blizzard Beach's companion, designed to make the water park a multi-day destination. This would have been, a very new idea. It's never really been done before where a water park was a multi-day experience, especially at the fact that this was Disney's third water park at the time, with Disney's River Country and Disney's Typhoon Lagoon existing at the time. Planned during the Disney decade under Michael Eisner, it aimed to capitalize on Blizzard Beach's 1995 opening, offering perks like early slide access or a ski lift themed shuttle to the park. You could literally take a ski lift from the hotel to the park.
Wow.
The resort's rustic, luxurious design would have rivaled deluxe resorts, blending quirky theming with Florida flair. But why didn't it open? Disney's budget was stretched thin by projects like Disney's Animal Kingdom and Coronado Springs Resort, which eventually took the place of this property. A water park hotel tied to a seasonal attraction was a risky bet. Florida's humid summers and occasional hurricanes didn't scream ski lodge. The concept, barely documented beyond fan whispers, remains a deep cut, known only to those scouring 1990s planning archives. So what became of it, or what could it become, or could it come back? The Alpine Resort site near Blizzard Beach wasn't directly repurposed for Coronado Springs, as their locations are slightly different, but however, its rustic theming likely influenced Wilderness Lodge's cozy aesthetic. I'm sure that probably came across as I was reading the description. The land around Blizzard Beach remains parking lots and backstage areas with no direct replacement. Revival of this seems very unlikely at this point, especially due to the fact that the water parks, a big reason why this resort never happened was because as administration was starting to figure out that these water parks were going to have to undergo renovation every year. And actually in 2025, this is the first time in 5 years that both water parks are now open at the same time. Water parks have been kind of a hot topic for the Disney resorts. They eventually did close Disney's River Country, and
I wonder why.
To this day, it's been a little tough for the water parks. I did make up a little bit of the ambiance, but because this is such an early idea, the only piece of concept art is the one on the left. You can see the ski lift that they eventually did implement to Summit Plummet. And eventually it did come back a little bit. The idea did come back. There was an Imagineer that wanted to bring this idea to a DVC resort. Can you guys guess where? It's in the bottom right. Where do you think this ski-style resort would have been a DVC resort? It's not in Florida or California, so you have to think similar to Disney's Hilton Head in North Carolina.
So this is like a resort.
I have no idea.
Like a random, so like kind of like
A DVC, yeah, Lonnie is the same way. A DVC resort outside of the parks.
Outer Banks. Wait, what did you say about North Carolina?
There's a Hilton Head Island is another DVC resort that is not affiliated with the park, but it's still a Disney resort. So I'm just asking, what state do you guys think it would have taken place in? This idea never came to fruition, obviously, but
Colorado.
the idea was adapted.
I say Colorado.
Okay.
I got no ideas here.
I got no clue.
I'm gonna take you guys to the 48th state, the state of Arizona.
What?
Doesn't that make sense?
Hey,
that makes no
It just
sense.
pushes the irony even more. But the fact that they're trying to get people to wear sweaters and drink hot chocolate there might be a crime.
Yeah. For real.
Well, would you guys like this idea of this resort? Do you think it was fair that they decided not to do it because there was going to be renovations? Because I think now renovations are starting anywhere from 3 months of the year to upwards of 8 months of the year.
So, I think the thing is, I think we would all love a world where this existed and the water parks did great for Disney. But the thing is, like you're saying, I think we got the cozy lodge vibe from Wilderness Lodge. I don't think we need that mixed with the ski thing. And like you said, the water parks have struggled. The theming is a struggle. And as much as they want this to be like a multi-day thing, I don't think that would be multi-day beyond 2-3 days. I don't think most people are going to be going to the water park for more than a week. So I think it was a great idea. But like I'm saying, if you're going to do the fireplace and stuff, you can get that at like things like the California Adventure Hotel or Wilderness Lodge and just get a better vibe for it.
I agree. I think that it just doesn't really make sense. Like, it contradicts itself being in Florida. Like, if this was in Colorado, that would be amazing because people would already be like in the attire for the theme, and they could probably go skiing and then actually maybe the next day go to like the ski theme park. Like the market, the demand is way more over there. Like Florida's a total beach area. Like, you know, that makes sense for the water park aspect of it, but not really the theme. And I agree with Brody about, you know, going to the Grand Californian Adventure. Like they already kind of have something that could take this place. So yeah.
This seems miserable to me. If you're going, you know, 80% of the year and everything's closed, you're just going to be hearing all the time, you know, you wake up in the morning, that's all you hear. And as Brody was saying, no one's going to go to a water park, you know, more than once a trip, even if that. If, like, you're only going for 3 or 4 days to Disney World, you're not going to go to the water park if it's open, you know? So it's a cool idea. I mean, the concept art, honestly, that kind of looks like more like a restaurant than a hotel. It would be like a pretty cool restaurant. I mean, you go to Blizzard Beach. Is this where I get my ice cream in like in a bucket with a shovel? Like that's cool stuff. I'd like to see more of that. But other than that, I mean, it just wouldn't do well, I feel like, most of the year.
Awesome. What was the banging noise that you would hear every day?
Construction. They're doing refurbishments.
It's kids hitting the ground after drinking hot chocolate and then going outside in Florida because it's not a smart idea.
Drinking too much hot chocolate, slipping on the wet ground, you know. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't know.
To me, this screams Disney Decade, Michael Eisner theming, which I think why I'm such a particular fan of this idea. I would love to stay at this, but the mere practicality of it, very unlikely. I think it'd be super cool to have that type of transportation from the ski lift going from the resort to the water park. I'm always a big fan of super unique theming, like the Skyliner, which came out recently, the monorail, which Walt Disney was a big advocate for, and he started. Boats at Disney World. I think these are all great ideas. It is a little unfortunate that it was never built. I am pro Alpine Resort, but there's a couple others, as we'll see, that I'm not of. Also, just want to put out there, since these are super deep cut ideas, there is barely any concept art available for any of this. I did my best. I tried to pull anything that I could to kind of build the scenario. And with building the scenario, some of the stuff I'm going to say is not entirely true, but the theming and the essence of it is true. All these ideas are true, but some of the building of the story, not entirely true. All right, guys.
Wait, Ethan, one more thing. So if you were to stay here at Blizzard Beach, okay, how isn't Blizzard Beach super off property? So if you want to go somewhere when this water park is closed, you're going to be like it's going to kind of be like where the Animal Kingdom lodges, like, you know, you're just super out of the way for everything.
So I don't think people saying that Animal Kingdom Lodge or Coronado Springs, the Pop Century resorts, making that case that they're far from everything is fair. Most of Disney World is located where Epcot is located, Hollywood Studios, and Disney's Animal Kingdom. Magic Kingdom is the outlier, but since it is the flagship park, people say that everything else is out of the way. I don't think that's particularly fair. I think if the layout of this property would have been where Coronado Springs is, you can access Animal Kingdom, and if the bus schedule is on time, fairly quickly. So I think it's just people saying that Disney World is focused around Magic Kingdom, which at the time, and for a long time, and some would say still is, focused around Magic Kingdom. I prefer my parks, Animal Kingdom. Epcot is my main hub. So I don't know. I don't know if that's fairly a fair argument.
I will say as a side note, just because I don't know when I'll ever get to talk about this again. You said the Animal Kingdom Lodge, if the bus schedule is on time. I don't think I've ever been there and the bus schedule has been on time. For some reason, it's always that hotel, and we're always waiting like a super long time. So I'm just going to throw that out there because I don't know next time we'll talk about Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Well, maybe for a future episode we can devise some creative transportation that's not currently at the Disney parks. All right, guys. Our next resort, Disney's Fort Wilderness Junction. Now picture yourself Now picture yourself riding a horse-drawn wagon into a dusty frontier town at Walt Disney World, where Fort Wilderness Junction, or Buffalo Junction Resort, it was also known as, welcomes you to the Wild West. The entrance is a weathered wooden gate flanked by hitching posts and a lantern that glows like fireflies at dusk. The lobby feels like a saloon straight out of a Western movie, with a long oak bar carved with cowboy motifs, swinging doors, and ceiling painted with a mural of cattle driving under a starry night. A cast member in a sheriff's vest hands you a keycard stamped with a horseshoe, and you're led down a boardwalk lined with barrels and wagons, wheels to your room. The resort, planned as a 600-room moderate-priced haven between Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground and Disney's Wilderness Lodge, was inspired by Disneyland Paris's Hotel Cheyenne, which me and my brother have seen from afar. We did not make the trek because it was quite far from everything else. Your room is a cozy log cabin with walls of rough timber and a bed frame shaped like a covered wagon. That would have been pretty cool.
Hey,
The
Brian.
quilt is stitched with the cacti and lassos, and the lamps are fashioned from tin lanterns. A window overlooks a courtyard where kids play in fake gold mine, complete with pickaxes and panning stations. The bathroom tiles mimic a desert sunset, and the minibar stocks a Prospector's root beer and cowpoke cookies. You head to the Rusty Spur Saloon, where servers in bandanas serve Trailblazer chili and Longhorn steak, while a ragtime pianist bangs out tunes from Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Andreas, I'm starting to see where your next career is heading you. The bar, shaped like a stagecoach, offers sarsaparilla spritzers with Mickey-shaped ice cubes. The pool area is a desert oasis with a lazy river winding through a cacti, sculptures, and water slide for kids. At night, you join a campfire sing-along, and you're able to sing Home on the Range and Buffalo Bill Wild West Show. That is a dinner theater show. So this was dreamed up in the early 1990s as well during the Disney decade. This resort aimed to expand Fort Wilderness's rustic appeal into a full hotel experience, offering affordable magic for families. It would have tied in a Frontierland's vibe with potential perks like horseback rides or shuttle to Magic Kingdom. But why was it left on the prairie, guys? The 1992 recession splashed Disney's ambitious plans, prioritizing Animal Kingdom and Boardwalk over this moderate resort. Starting to see a theme here in the 1990s. So what became of it? The Fort Wilderness Junction site between Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge wasn't directly repurposed, remaining a mix of woods and backstage areas. For those who have visited Fort Wilderness, it is a massive, massive area, so you may understand why. Its Western theming likely influenced Wilderness Lodge's frontier-inspired geyser pool and decor, but no direct replacements exist. So let's explain some of the pictures that are on here. On the left, Fort Wilderness Junction was actually a thing. For those who don't know, there was a train that went through Fort Wilderness that could take you around the whole area, but the hotel part of it was never going to happen. In the middle, you see a picture of Hotel Cheyenne, and there's a reason the boardwalk right next to it is because that was going to be the vibe. It was going to be, you would have to imagine that a western town, that was going to be the vibe of the main area, where there's going to be different shops, restaurants, different things that you could go do at the Fort Wilderness Junction. And at the bottom right, you can see a picture of the old Fort Wilderness train that you were able to take, and they eventually got rid of. So what are your guys' thoughts here?
I would love to go first here. Okay. I give this 3 big dooms actually. Not it. We have Fort Wilderness, we have Wilderness Lodge, and we have the Horsey Hotel, which is Saratoga Springs. We don't need more wilderness-themed resorts in a place where this is a beach town. This is... it's Disney World. I don't want to be camping in Disney World. Fort Wilderness is pretty cool. I like it. But why do we need 4 different hotels if I want to go camping?
I have a rebuttal. So at the time, Fort Wilderness was the only hotel that was themed this way. Wilderness Lodge had not come to fruition yet. I don't believe so. I will fact check that as one of you guys talk. But Saratoga Springs definitely was not a thing. So at the time, this Fort Wilderness was the only quote hotel, even though it was majority campsites with a few cabins. So that's where the idea came from.
I just don't understand why they keep going for this wilderness aspect. What's the IP behind it? Why do they want to keep doing this?
There doesn't need to be an IP.
Okay. So here's what I have to say about that. Is we've only been losing the cowboy stuff. We lost like the petting zoo and the barbecue in Disneyland's Frontierland. Aren't we losing a lot of the riverboat stuff?
We're losing Rivers of America. We're losing Frontierland.
Right? So for this idea, sprinkle in some characters around, just walking around being in character. Like it doesn't have to be full Star Wars hotel. Just every now and then, someone a little in character to be a little Wild West. And I have to say, I completely agree. I think I got to go and agree with this one.
Oh, look at that. He's got the hat.
I think this is a splendid idea. I think this would just be wonderful. This is a great idea.
Braun, is this based off of Hotel Cheyenne? What's the correlation with that?
Hotel Cheyenne. Let me get that answered for you because Euro Disneyland at the time, before it was called Disneyland Paris, I believe that was one of the first hotels that was built with Disneyland Paris. So I think it kind of got developed from that. But let me fact check some of this.
All right,
So
because
you guys can give your thoughts.
I went to Disneyland Paris with my family a few years ago, and we drove through Hotel Cheyenne because we were lost and trying to find our resort. And dude, let me tell you, it is not it. It is just so bland. It looks like a ghost town. Like, it was atrocious. So if it's based off of that, like, I'm sure they do a better job, but I'm not a fan of it.
Thank you, Andreas.
So, Hotel Cheyenne was built in 1992, so it was kind of around the same time. I think they just kind of got wildernessed out, and they just decided to build something for Disneyland Paris. And in the long term, that didn't even help them, because when Disneyland, or Euro Disneyland at the time, opened, it was a bomb. It damn near killed the Walt Disney Company. For those of you who don't know, it really put a rough dent in the Walt Disney Company, and even having the domino effects of California Adventure being a massive flop close to a decade later. And to be honest, we kind of felt the effects up into the early 2010s for the entirety of Euro Disneyland.
But here's the thing. I kind of agree that they haven't done the country thing right, which is why I think I just want this to exist so they can maybe get it right. Why can't you take me serious?
Because you're wearing the cowboy hat.
I don't understand. Because I had a cowboy hat on hand for this topic that I was uninformed of. Is that why?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. But, like, I don't think they've gotten it right. Like, I think the only time I get, like, a good vibe from that, like, theming that they do is when I'm in Frontierland and no one else is there. And it's just the background track. And I'm like, this is a cool vibe. But other than that, I feel like they've completely lost, like, the cool Western vibe. So I just want them to do it well at some point.
I'll give some parts Disney the benefit of the doubt here. I've been to Hoop-de-Doo Review. When I was hearing about it before I went for the first time, I was like, this sounds so dumb. This is stupid, but, I mean, the food should be good. And I went there, and it's awesome. That might be my number one favorite restaurant I want to go back to.
Which one?
Brody, you're muted. It's like a It's like a play where you eat and they come around, they talk jokes, and it's like it's mostly improv. It's really funny.
Ooh, I like that.
And they have checkers while you wait. They have giant checkerboards.
Wait,
which are amazing.
where? Which one is this?
Fort Wilderness, right?
It's at Fort Wilderness. I think.
Okay.
That's the name. Hoop-de-Doo Review.
And then one of you guys knows the name of this restaurant where you go in and you eat and they yell at you and they tell you to F off. They tell you to get out of the
we went
restaurant.
there.
Yeah.
We all went
that
there.
one, yeah.
What was it called?
It's called Once and Never Again, I think is what it's called. I think it was a fun experience. Maybe not again.
I remember the server. The server threw like 20 straws.
All the straws. Yeah, all the straws up in the air.
Yeah,
and then there
you remember
there was one ketchup. Remember the one ketchup and you had to
Yeah.
fight, you had to steal it from the other table?
Yeah.
Don't you dare order more ketchup, and don't even think about ordering a refill on your Diet Coke.
But man, will they
Yeah.
give you 20 milkshakes
That tastes awful.
that aren't even like milkshakes. Like, it's just solid ice cream. You just gotta wait.
And to speak of theming that doesn't happen anymore, Whispering Canyon has been completely redone. That theming is no longer there. They don't do it to the level that they used to. They still have the ketchup joke, but it is no longer the same thing that it used to be. Anybody else have final thoughts on this? Before I let everybody go, I love the boardwalk and the New Jersey boardwalk theme. I think it's genius. Quite unfortunate that places like Jelly Rolls, some of the other third-party places, ESPN Club, which closed several years ago, that part does bum me out because it seems like the boardwalk is slowly dying. But I think a wilderness western town like this, where you could stroll through, very similar to the picture of Hotel Cheyenne, would have been genius.
I think they need to get more creative, like kind of what Austin was saying. But then at the same time, like, I could see them trying to be like in such a niche category where like it doesn't hit. Like, something that comes to my mind when you got to get super creative. I don't know why, but I just thought of like an underground like cave mining resort.
I don't think you're far off for that, Andreas, because when there was an attraction before Big Thunder Mountain called, I can't remember the name of it, but it had the Rainbow Caverns, which was a big portion of the ride where you were able to go through. So I don't think you're far off for thinking that. But something that has come to my mind.
Dude, yeah, something like that would be cool.
Okay, so I am not a big IP fan. I'm not a big fan of them ramming IP into everything they can. But let's say this was built. One IP I would be incredibly fond of if they did. Let's say this was built and they wanted to retheme it. Woody's Roundup Town.
The entire thing.
The entire thing.
Keep just Woody's Roundup.
Keep Wilderness Lodge, keep Fort Wilderness, but Fort Wilderness Junction be Woody's Roundup Town. You could have Prospector Pete, Woody, Bullseye. Tell me that is good theming right there.
I would have to slightly disagree. I love Toy Story and everything.
For a guy that loves Buzz Lightyear Command.
Exactly. But I would love a restaurant like that, but I don't know if I could do a whole hotel that's just Woody's Roundup, playing the song on loop.
That's what I'm saying. You walk through the town and just listen to Woody's Roundup. Like, it's so good.
Trust me.
So good.
I love that song. But if it was just that for a week, I think I would go for, like, just basic country over that. And then, like, a Woody's Roundup restaurant.
But any hotel you stay at for a week, you probably get a little overdone with the theming. Am I wrong?
Well, the way I'm kind of imagining this with the waterside stuff is I'm thinking Disney World's Riverside, which has the stagecoach that goes around, and it has, like, the quiet walk by the river. So I'm kind of thinking that it's, like, a more laid back, and then, like, at the front you have, like, the characters and stuff, and, like, the piano, which is very similar to Riverside.
Are you alluding to our next debunked hotels that never happened? Because this
Riverside
hotel did
did
happen. No. Port Orleans Riverside. Do you guys know what it originally was themed towards? Don't look it up.
I don't know, and I should know because I was, like, one of the people that's been there the most.
So in the 90s when it opened up, it used to be themed to the Confederacy of the United States.
What?
All right, so actually I haven't stayed there that much, and I only know a little bit about it.
Hey, Brody,
So-
what happened to that Confederate flag that used to be right behind you on the wall?
Just like how you won the trivia.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. Number one.
I don't want to spread untrue news, but I do think there were actually a couple Confederate flags hanging when they first started the resort. All right, guys, we will be back in just a moment for our final two resorts. And we are back. All right, guys, I hope you've stuck around so far. We've got two more to go. These are real deep cuts. Next up, Oh, hold on.
Wow.
Disney's Discovery Bay Resort. Step onto the misty banks of Disney's Rivers of America, where the Discovery Bay Hotel would have welcomed you to a steampunk Victorian world of exploration. The entrance is a grand archway of wrought iron and stained glass depicting nautical maps and sea monsters. The lobby is a marvel. A massive spinning globe sits at the center, surrounded by brass telescopes and leather-bound journals, while a chandelier shaped like a ship's wheel casts a golden glow. The air smells of polished wood and sea salt. Could you imagine that? Magic Candle Company candle. This hotel, tied to Tony Baxter's unbuilt Discovery Bay land from the 1970s, was meant to blend 20,000 leagues under the sea with San Francisco's Golden Rush era, creating an adventurous paradise. Your room is a submarine cabin with porthole windows showing underwater projections of fish and coral. The bed frame is carved with nautical knots and draped in velvet curtains, and the lamp mimics gaslit lanterns. The bathroom features tiles patterned with compasses, and the minibar offers Nautilus nectar and Gold Rush gummy fish. You dine at the Explorers Club. This is probably my favorite part. A restaurant with taxidermy-style decor, Disney-fied, of course, served with Nautilus stew with seafood and Prospector's pie with hearty beef. The bar, styled like a submarine's bridge, pours Vern's Voyage cocktail, shout out to 20,000 Leagues, glowing with blue carousel. Outside, a lagoon showcases a docked Nautilus submarine, its hull glinting under moonlight. The pool is a steampunk harbor with a lighthouse slide, bubbling hot tubs, and steam engine sound effects. You should have walked from your room into Discovery Bay's planned streets inside the park, passing a Spark Gap Loop coaster, or a time-traveled dark ride, or boarded a submarine-themed shuttle to the park. Planned in the 1970s to make Disneyland a multi-day destination, this hotel would have been a groundbreaking and in-park retreat. But why didn't it get docked? Walt Disney's 1966 death shifted focus to Walt Disney World and Epcot, and Discovery Bay's ambitious land plus hotel plan was too costly for Disneyland's limited space. Elements later inspired Tokyo Disney Sea's Hotel Miracosta, but this hotel remains a lost gem known through Baxter's sketches on fan sites. So what became of it? The Discovery Bay Hotel's Rivers of America site was repurposed eventually for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or formerly the Big Thunder Ranch. With no direct hotel replacement, its nautical steampunk vibe influenced Hotel Miracosta's maritime elegance in Tokyo Disney, and this probably won't happen. But I want to point out, a lot of this theming was then transferred to the Tomorrowland of Disneyland Paris. There is no Tomorrowland in Disneyland Paris. They have Discoveryland. You can see a lot of imagery here. You can even see the blimp that is there. Actually, 3 of us here have all seen this land. It's one of my favorite lands that Disney's ever created. It would have been very cool, but it seemed like a lot of these ideas of having a hotel inside the park just never came to fruition just because it's not very practical. I also included a picture of a submarine hotel, much different than a porthole looking out to the water. That is a whole ceiling of water. What are you guys' thoughts?
The submarine hotel, I would 1000% stay in. Especially if they got little fish floating around in there too.
I think we've seen Disney try to go the hotel in a park route. Brody, you've been to it. Well, not really in the park, but sort of in the park if you think about it. Galaxy's Edge
The Halcyon.
Hotel. The Halcyon. I mean, Disney basically just lit a bunch of money on fire. A few people went and saw it. I heard it was really cool. Brody, what do you think about that hotel?
So, I have mixed opinions on this idea here because the problem with the Star Cruiser is you're paying that much for a hotel that doesn't have a pool or anything. But this one, only your room is themed like you're underwater. So while I don't know how interested people would be in the screen for the windows, I think that this would have much more of a benefit than the Star Wars Hotel because you would be able to go outside and go to the pools and stuff. So I think it would be a little different. And I do like this theme. As much as I like Star Wars, I think this theme is more Disney and more like the Society of Explorers and stuff that they do. So I don't know. I think it just has more of a benefit than the Star Wars Hotel stuff.
Well,
I'm a big. Oh, go ahead, Austin.
well, I just like the theme is the gold rush. That's what you said, right?
More steampunk.
More steampunk. Okay,
Yeah.
well that breaks down my argument there. Never mind, Andreas. What was that?
Well, I was gonna say I'm a big fan of like water themed things. I think that you can have like the most beautiful decorations and like fountains and water features in like a water themed like area and like hotel. You could have some really elegant stuff. So I'm always like in favor of water themed thingies, parks and hotels, and so I think it would have been pretty cool. Especially this top right picture, the fan art, that looks really cool to me.
So I believe this is actually concept art of Hotel Miracosta, which really does play on the maritime aspect of it. And that is come to fruition for the viewer or the listener out there. You can take a look at Hotel Miracosta, which is definitely something I want to go visit one day. Another thing I want to point out, I talked about having a bay with the, was it the Nautilus, the submarine from 20,000 Leagues? That did also get converted to Disneyland Paris, where it is a walkthrough attraction. I do love it. I can't express enough how much I love Discoveryland. It's one of the main reasons I want to go back to Disneyland Paris. Other parts of Disneyland Paris didn't love so much, but Discoveryland, I mean, that's a draw in itself.
It was cool. I concur.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other thoughts, our last idea.
You know what would be cool?
Yeah.
Is if like looking at this fan art concept in the top right, if they had like tiny little islands. Oh, like a Venice in Italy themed park where like you have to take like these little boats in the canals to like different people's houses and different like it'd probably have to be like little cottages on the water. I think I'm thinking of like the Maldives, one of those islands.
Maldives?
Yeah, the Maldives. Something like that I think would be really cool.
Well, Andres, you would have made a great Disney Imagineer back in the 1970s because the Disney's Venetian resort almost did happen at Seven Seas Lagoon. It was supposed to be in between the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian, I believe. We may cover that in a future episode. Anybody have any other thoughts? All right, guys. This is the last one, and this is the most deep cut of them all. You try to look it up on the internet, it can't really be found. There's just heavy rumors that this was in plans, and this is the earliest thing we have. Disney's Tomorrowland Resort. Now imagine stepping into Disneyland's Tomorrowland, where Tomorrowland Hotel welcomes you to a retro futuristic utopia. The entrance is a sleek domed portal glowing with neon blues and purples like a spaceship landing bay. The lobby is a vision of the future, and a massive model of Space Mountain spins overhead. Holographic stars twinkle on the walls, and a polished chrome desk hums with sci-fi energy. A cast member in an astronaut suit hands you a keycard with a rocket emblem, and you glide down a neon-lit corridor to your room. Planned in the 1960s during Tomorrowland's 1967 overhaul, which I think you did talk about. This hotel aimed to immerse guests in the land's optimistic vision of tomorrow, making it a groundbreaking in-park retreat. Your room is a space station cabin with a porthole, windows showing starry skies and distant planets. The bed frame is a chrome with rounded edges draped in metallic silver bedding, and the lamps pulse like control panels. The bathroom tiles mimic a starry galaxy, and the minibar stocks cosmic cola and meteor munchies. Andreas, I know you're a fan of that one. You dine at a rooftop restaurant overlooking Tomorrowland's kinetic buzz. People mover tracks whirring, rocket jets spinning, and savoring the meteor burger or the galactic glow salad with edible glitter. Doesn't sound very FDA approved. The bar, styled like a monorail cockpit, serves astro spritzers that glow under backlight. The pool is a zero-gravity oasis with a rocket-shaped slide and bubbling hot tubs emitting sci-fi beeps. At night, you join a starry gazing evening on the roof. Stargazing evening. Wow, starry gazing. Where a cast member in a spacesuit points out constellations with a laser pointer, and a monorail-themed shuttle whisks guests to the park's entrance. This hotel was part of Disney's 1960s push to make Disneyland a multi-day experience. predating Walt Disney World's resort model. But why didn't it launch? Once again, Walt Disney's smoking problem disrupted this, and the high cost of building within Tomorrowland's tight footprint was a non-starter. Disney then prioritized Florida's contemporary resort, which borrowed the futuristic monorail integration. Known only through 1960s planning, notes, and fan forms, this is a deep-cut dream. But what could it have been? The Tomorrowland hotel site wasn't directly repurposed as Tomorrowland's space for Space Mountain and Star Tours. Its futuristic vibe influenced the contemporary resort's monorail through hotel design, and revival in 2025 is not going to happen with other plans seemingly never in the works, because D23 comes around every 2 years. Everybody thinks Tomorrowland's getting a revamp, and that does not happen. So let's explain some of the visuals we have on here. A big reason of why I don't think this happened was Disney was still unsure on how to do the hotel game. Believe it or not, guys, the Disneyland Hotel, when it opened a few months after Disneyland opened in 1955, it was not owned by Walt Disney, but by the oil tycoon Jack Wagner. He had that tower on the left. It was the only tower, and it was quite a ways away from the Disneyland park. If you have to imagine walking from that hotel to the front gate of Disneyland with no downtown Disney, you got to imagine that's just a boring walk. You see, I've got my sad comic book art of Mickey Mouse holding a picture of Walt Disney because he couldn't put down the cigs. Another thing that kind of developed from this, we eventually, when the Walt Disney Company did buy the Disneyland Hotel from Jack Wagner, you know, as you know today, they did incorporate a monorail slide, so they did kind of take that from there. And the contemporary in itself is a very contemporary Tomorrowland design, especially in Walt Disney World. The contemporary was built to so it could be seen from Tomorrowland and Walt Disney World. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I'm glad that they canceled this. Not because I don't think it's a good idea. Like, obviously, this would be a really cool theme that they could incorporate. But if they did this in 1960, they would definitely have to revamp everything and change it all, because it would all be so outdated. It would be like in 1960, what they were like thinking about flying cars and stuff. Like, I think that's gonna happen like somewhat soon for us, and the things that we can create now, we can just make this land so much better in like 2020 and 2030, and it would just be astronomically better than like a Tomorrowland made in 1960. I mean, at the time, like it's nothing they can control, but just looking in retrospect, like, I'm glad they didn't commit to something like that back then.
How much of your description was legitimate?
None of it.
Okay.
This Tomorrowland Hotel, you can try to look it up. There is very, very little information on it. It's honestly more speculation, but I think that there have been some former Imagineers that have just stayed quiet because I think of how little in production it really was.
I thought you were going to say stayed quiet because of like the guy with the coffee on Doomsday. Not Doomsday.
So the Tomorrowland Hotel was then replaced, or the money was used for the contemporary?
More of the ideas were used because this was supposed to be in Disneyland. I would imagine where this hotel would have been is somewhere in between where the old Carousel of Progress is and Autopia, just because it's such a large footprint. I don't think the money was there. I don't think the technology was there. And I think even then they realized that it was going to get outdated so incredibly quick.
I completely agree with what Andrea said. I think if they did it back then, it would not have worked at all. But hearing about this, even if it was a concept, it breaks my heart a little, because somehow everything that I've like been looking into recently has tied back to Tomorrowland, and just interest has been in Tomorrowland, and somehow every single time it gets the short stick, and it just doesn't get like any upgrades. It doesn't get like anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's just always in a tough spot, the Tomorrowland theme. But I do think that they could do something like this now, and it would be more effective than this or the Star Wars Hotel. Because the thing with the Tomorrowland theme is you don't have to be like you're in a spaceship. You can have the futuristic stuff and some of the ideas from the Star Wars Hotel, like how you can talk to the captain, how you can do interactive stuff like that. You can have some of those ideas here in more of the space race, like information stuff, and have it be a cool theme without tying you down to like a space that you can't leave.
Yeah. Speaking of Tomorrowland not getting any updates and stuff, whatever happened with that one giant building in Tomorrowland that it was like it's like the carousel looking one that spins around?
So that was the original Carousel
Of Progress.
Carousel of Progress. Carousel of Progress building, which eventually did become Innoventions. It is now Star Wars Launch Bay, kind of. That they use.
It's a couple of meet and greets.
And they use probably an eighth of the building now, so it
Such a waste.
just gets added to the list of things that aren't being used anymore, like the People Mover, the arcade, and the Space Mountain queue that's no longer used. There's a lot of things that have been added to the list of things that at this point seems like never going to get fixed.
The clock.
The clock doesn't work, or does it? Maybe we don't know how to tell the time. I guess we'll never know. All right, guys. It seemed like none of you guys like these ideas all that much, so I'm going to ask you to pick one resort that you would go to, but you would have to stay there for a week.
Do I get to pick a time when I get to stay there?
Yes.
For all my hate that I sent to this place, the Blizzard Beach, I think the vibes would be unmatched there. If I could go when it was open, the transportation, if they actually did have those gondola systems to the parks, that's the one I would stay at, even though it would not work at all. But that would be so cool.
Yeah, the ski lift is super cool. Can you flip through them again real quick, Bron? Fort Wilderness. I
don't think anyone's going to pick the Fort Wilderness one. I don't think that's going to be on there.
I gotta go Discovery Bay. Like, just looking at that top right fan concept art, it just looks so cool. And I love that little submarine hotel looking thing. It would be pretty scary, but it would be a thrill. I would wake up with like, where am I? Oh, I'm underwater. And go back to bed. Be fun.
I would have to go with Tomorrowland. I think I just want to see what it would be like. Like, I'm just so fascinated in what its style would be.
What about you?
Great insight. I'm quite torn, guys. I'm really torn between Discovery Bay Hotel and the Alpine Resort. I think when it comes down to it, because we do have a Discoveryland at Disneyland Paris and we do have Hotel Miracosta already in existence, I'm going to have to go Alpine Resort. The whole reason that I started this episode today. I just think the theming would have been so unique. I am a fan of the water parks. If you told me I had to spend 5 days, I won't say a week, 5 days at the two Disney World water parks, I would totally do it. I think the theming there is so creative. And I think a common theme in all of this, just because all the ideas are 1995 and before, there's no blatant IP ramming going on here. And I wish Disney would go back to it. They probably never will. But yeah, I would have to go Disney's Alpine Resort.
Just because Austin went there, you'd miss him, huh?
Yep. All right, guys. Do you have any final thoughts on today's episode? All right. Well, I hope you guys learned something. That's going to wrap up this ride on the E-Ticket Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. If you had fun hanging out, debating, or shouting at your speaker in disagreement, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. And hey, a 5-star review would go a long way in helping other Disney fans discover this show. Tune in next week where we're going to be talking about something else. I don't know what it is. Thanks for riding along. We'll see you real soon and hopefully somewhere between rope drop and the fireworks. See you guys.